When hiring teachers is a process that we end up going through. Principal and I talked about this, but I've been in on this process a few times being the athletic director at my current school. Usually we sit there and we accept applications, but we post online in a few different web engines such as Mo Teaching Jobs or MoReap, and we also post internally about anybody who'd be interested in the job at the time. With that being said, we'll leave the job opening open a couple weeks in order to try to move forward. After that, we'll hold interviews, principal, assistant principal, and or me, the athletic director, depending on what the job is. We'll get together and create a list of possible candidates after all the applicants in there to try to fit what would be best for our school district and what we think would be best for our kids. We then create committees, usually within the subject area, on who would be interviewing that candidate and making sure that also include the principal and assistant principal. And like I said, if coaching positions opened up as well, it would also include me to find out what they'd be capable of doing. But in order to try to find what's best fit for our staff, there's generalized questions that we ask to see how they're going to open up, type of personality questions, some interest knowledge questions about the content area, and then again, just try to get a good overall feel in the interview. But we always try to find what we would want to do and hire for our best for our kids, not just staff, but maybe personally. But we always try to look for again that the best fit. With us also being said, within that hiring process, after we get done with that, we'll narrow it down. We come up with the top two, and then we'll eventually narrow it down based on a point system that we have while the interview process is going on. We ask each question, and then we number the questions based off of usually 1 to 5. About how well they answer the questions, and then we will tally them up. And then sometimes we'll usually go with the best score, but if it's something close and tight, we had 2 candidates did a really good job, we'll go back and look at them and then make a decision on what we think would be best fit, again, for either the staff that they'll be working with and what they would do for kids. After that process, they will then go into the Board of Education in order to get approved and make sure they get hired that way. If it's an administrator that's being hired as well, they'll go through a different process. That's a smaller committee that will be in that process. But then after that, there'll be a second interview that will be in front of the Board of Education, and then the board will then decide that night after their interview process on who they'll hire. Usually we'll take 2 to 3 people to the board in order to go through that process, and they make the final decision. But we base everything off committees as well. With those committees, we then try to help decide what would be the best fit for our staff, as well as what we think would be best for kids.